September 2022. The explosions on the Nord Stream pipelines weren't just an act of sabotage, they were the sound of a geopolitical chain being permanently broken. For decades, Europe's economy, especially Germany's industrial heartland, was tethered to the steady, reliable, and cheap flow of Russian gas. That era is over. It's not coming back. The question isn't if Europe would find a new energy source, but what that source would be, and at what cost. The answer? A massive, irreversible pivot to the global, volatile market of liquefied natural gas, or LNG. This isn't just a fuel switch. It is the beginning of a new LNG war, and it is reshaping the entire continent. This video is a warning about the hidden costs and the permanent geopolitical risks this new energy dependency brings.
For Vladimir Putin, pipeline gas was never just a commodity. It was a strategic weapon wielded through cutoffs, price threats, and the sheer intoxicating dependency it fostered. Germany, in particular, built its industrial dominance on this sweet deal, trusting long-term contracts and seemingly ignoring the mounting political leverage Russia gained. But in the wake of the 2022 invasion, that weapon became obsolete. Europe scrambled, contracts were torn up, and the once mighty, multi-billion-dollar pipelines, symbols of economic partnership, now lie partially destroyed and idle beneath the Baltic Sea. Russia's capacity to hold Europe hostage with the turn of a valve is structurally, perhaps even physically, dismantled. This created a massive energy vacuum, requiring an immediate, near-impossible solution. Europe needed to import massive amounts of gas, but without the physical infrastructure to receive it. This is where the great LNG pivot began.
LNG is pipeline gas frozen into a liquid state at -260 degrees Fahrenheit. It shrinks the volume 600 times, allowing it to be shipped around the globe in specialized tankers, not fixed pipelines. It turns a regional supply chain into a global one. The pivot was manic. In 2022 and 2023, Europe launched an unprecedented construction spree, focusing heavily on floating storage and regasification units, FSRUs. These are massive ships that act as floating import terminals, quickly converting the liquid back to gas and injecting it into the grid. Germany, a country that had zero LNG import terminals before the war, quickly launched multiple FSRUs. The Netherlands, Italy, Finland all raced to build or charter these facilities. This rapid deployment stabilized Europe's immediate supply, successfully decoupling the continent from its primary enemy. It was a logistical miracle, accomplished in months, not years. But this shift comes with a fundamental difference that Europe is only now beginning to grasp.
When you move from bilateral pipeline deals to a global LNG market, you change who controls the power. Russia is out. The new winner? The United States. Thanks to the shale revolution, the US became the world's largest exporter of LNG in 2023, supplying nearly half of Europe's total LNG imports. This massive export capacity grants the US significant new geopolitical soft power in Europe, positioning it not just as a security guarantor, but as the continent's indispensable energy supplier. Other key players like Qatar, Australia, and a growing list of African nations now hold leverage over Europe's industrial survival. Europe is no longer beholden to Moscow's pipeline politics, but it is now vulnerable to a far more complex system, the global LNG spot market, where a disruption in Asia or a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico can send European prices soaring overnight. It's trading one form of dependency for another, more volatile one.
This is the core warning. The price of energy independence is proving exorbitant. Firstly, the economic cost. LNG is structurally more expensive than pipeline gas. The cost of liquefaction, shipping, and regasification adds a significant premium. For decades, industries in Germany, like chemical manufacturers and steel producers, relied on sub-market Russian gas to maintain their competitive edge. Now, facing global LNG prices, many of these energy-intensive businesses are finding it impossible to compete. We are seeing factories downscale, relocate, or shut down entirely, a process known as de-industrialization, simply because the cost of fuel has become too high. This isn't just about utility bills. It is about the fundamental survival of Europe's economic powerhouse. Secondly, the environmental cost. While LNG burns cleaner than coal, the shift brings a major climate concern: methane leakage. Methane, the primary component of natural gas, is a greenhouse gas many times more potent than carbon dioxide over a short time frame. The entire LNG supply chain, from extraction and liquefaction to transport and regasification, is prone to leakage. The increase in global LNG use by Europe, while solving a geopolitical problem, directly contributes to a dangerous escalation of methane emissions, undercutting Europe's ambitious Green Deal goals and presenting a massive ethical and environmental blind spot in the rush for energy security.
Is this shift permanent? Most experts believe so. The physical destruction and political severance from Russia are too deep to easily repair. For Europe, energy security and political sovereignty have decisively trumped the cost of energy. LNG is, for the immediate future, Europe's bridge fuel, connecting the continent from its reliance on Russia to a cleaner, long-term future of renewables. However, the current setup is a tightrope walk. Europe needs to rapidly invest in domestic renewable energy while simultaneously managing the volatile global LNG supply. If they fail to accelerate their green transition, they risk turning the temporary LNG lifeline into a permanent, expensive, and environmentally damaging dependency on new global suppliers. This is the ultimate prize in the new energy war, not just decoupling from Russia, but achieving true domestic energy independence. The LNG pivot has bought Europe time, but the real high-stakes fight, the fight against deindustrialization and climate change, is just beginning.